I am a student studying literature at university. I had to move out from my home into a dorm, as the university itself was very far. It took me a while getting used to things without the help of my parents, washing my own clothes or going grocery shopping. I was annoyed but quickly got the hang of it. Anyways, this one evening, me and my friends were hanging out in my dorm just chilling, playing music and talking. It must have been around 10 p.m. A few moments later, my stomach started rumbling and it was loud. Everyone heard it and started giggling. "Ha ha," I said. "Is there any places to eat open at this hour?" I questioned my friends. They all shook their heads, saying the only place that would be open is Tesco's, but it was quite far from here. This Tesco's was a 24/7 store, and it was the big ones, with the huge car park. I took note of that, and we continued the night. Until one of my other friends, let's call her Mel, mentioned that maybe we should go get some snacks and watch a movie. Mel could drive, so traveling wouldn't be a hassle. We all agreed and got up to leave. Mel tried to switch her car on, but it took a few tries and minutes until it stayed on. That was strange, she said. My car was completely fine before. She was heading to the garage the next day anyways, so she would get it checked out then. So off we drove. It was pitch black, with no streetlights. The only thing that lit was the car headlights. It was dead outside, not a single soul, car, or animal out. I know it was late, but usually there would be a few people out at this time, and there was a streetlight that should have been on, but was not. We drive into the empty car park, her tires screeching as she braked. We all entered Tesco's. The security guard was on our right, and he opened the barriers so that we could get through. We went through aisles after aisles, picking up what we needed. We got too carried away and ended up all going different directions. The whole Tesco was empty except for us, so I thought, until I was on an aisle by myself and saw a hooded man a few feet away from me. His face wasn't covered, but his hood was on, and he was looking down at a chocolate box he just picked up. I didn't bother about it too much, since he looked like he could cause no trouble. He was a bit shorter than me, wore ripped and old joggers with a black hoodie covered in peach fuzz. I continued picking up what I wanted, still in the same aisle. But this man hadn't budged. He hadn't moved an inch since when I last saw him. Same position, still looking down. I must have looked at him for about a second till he looked up straight at me. His eyes were dark, almost black, and he had the worst eye bags I had ever seen. He wore a bandage on his mouth, imitating a mask. How does that even make sense? I thought to myself. I can't lie. I was very creeped out by this whole encounter and just wanted to get back to my friends. I hurried out of the aisle and went to another. I just needed to find the ice cream. But my hands were already so full and I didn't bring a basket, nor did I have pockets. So, I was holding the chocolates, ice cream tubs, and my phone juggling them. That's when I saw an empty basket and had to lay everything to the side while I went to grab it. Once I finished loading the basket, I looked up and almost jumped back. The same hooded guy was almost too close in front of me. "Hey, watch where you're going," I said. He just stared up at me, the same dark eyes. This time I could tell he was smiling behind his bandage, as his eyes squinted. At this point, forget the ice cream, I thought, and went to the third aisle, as that's where my friends would be. I finally met up with them, but they seemed distant. They weren't carrying any trolleys or baskets. I was the only one. "Hey, where's all the snacks?" I questioned. They just shrugged and continued walking to the back of the store. "Guys, we need to pay at the front. You're going the wrong way." They hushed me and ushered me to follow them. This was so unusual of them to do. I was confused, but reluctantly went with them. There was a locked door at the back of the store. I'm guessing it led to the warehouse of Tesco's. The security guard would be the only one to have the key, but for some reason Mel took the keys out of her pocket and unlocked it. She gave me a devilish grin and looked at me with malice. Mel, along with my two other friends, went through the door, but when it was my turn, they all looked at me, rushing me to come over. Something was off. Very off. My heart was racing 1,000,000 miles per hour. Whoever these people were not my friends. They looked exactly like them, but their energy, eyes, and body language were not them. I backed away, shaking my head. "You guys are crazy." I screamed before dropping my basket and running out of there. "Wait!" I heard a grown man's voice shout behind me. I looked back for a split second and saw the same hooded guy, in replace of who I thought were my friends. This made no sense. I was panicking and rushing my way to the exit. The security guard stopped me and ran up to me. "Hey man, what happened? Where are your friends?" "I'm calling the police." These questions became muffled as I tried to catch my breath. He sat me down and called the police. I was visibly in a state of shock and he was concerned. I heard the ray of sirens, along with Mel and my friends. My real friends. They all came to comfort me and asked me, what happened? Where were you, and why did I not meet them in the car? I explained to the officers everything I saw, from the hooded man up to the people trying to get me to come to the back with them. I mentioned how they looked exactly like my actual friends, but they weren't. The police went to investigate while I sat down and explained what happened again to my friends. They all looked confused and started looking at each other puzzled. "What?" I said. They told me that they got a text from my number saying that I had already paid for the snacks and should meet them at the car. So, they got the rest of the bits and came to meet me at the car, but I wasn't there. They called my phone, but it was turned off. So, they figured they would wait for me inside. So this whole time they were inside the car while I was still in the store. My heart sank. While I got up desperately trying to look for my phone, I figured I either must have left it in the basket just now, or left it on the shelves while I went to fetch the basket, and someone took it. That man. I saw the look of horror on their face when they realized it wasn't me who had the phone. The officer came back and told me that there was no one in the store. They checked the warehouse and cameras and showed no traces of anyone entering or leaving through the back or front. There's no way, I protested. "I know what I saw." I shouted. I was getting angry, but my friends calmed me down and told me to leave it to the police and that we should get home. That's exactly what we did. We got home, and when everything got back to normal, I looked at Mel and asked, "Are you sure your car was fine before today?" "Yes, I'm sure of it. I was literally driving today." Now, I'm not a religious person, nor do I practice, but I do believe in God. I sat down and asked, what if your car not turning on was a sign from God not to go? "That's ridiculous," Mel replied, "but it would make sense. The car not turning on, the road being empty and pitch black, maybe to scare us from going." She looked at me with neutral eyes and told me to sleep it off. But I knew deep down that the rest of them agreed with me. We all went sleep, and it was never mentioned again. This story brings shivers down my spine whenever I think about it. It happened to me when I was a little girl. My mother told me this story when I turned 18. She said it was the worst day of her life, and you'll see why. I still remember some parts, but not clearly, so my mom helped me fill in the blanks. I had just turned 6 years old, and my parents threw me a birthday party where they invited relatives, and I invited my friends. The party was held inside a shopping mall, at the top floor. The top floor was a venue where you could host parties, get together, and social gatherings. The shopping mall itself was a rundown place, which had a car park at the bottom. The venue had security at the doors, monitoring those who left and entered, and the party itself was Hello Kitty themed. So, on the day of the party, all my friends and family came up to the venue, wearing pink and bright colors. It was hard to tell who was who, as we all looked the same until you turned around and saw our face. My mom told me that she saw someone enter the party that she didn't recognize. A woman who looked to be in her late 30s. She wore a pink scarf and had old-looking pink trainers. I mean, she didn't stick out as a sore thumb completely, but it was a bit odd. My mom went up to her asking who she was. The lady replied that one of the invited guests had invited her as a +1. She seemed friendly, and even brought a gift, my mom said. My mom asked who invited her while trying to sound as polite as possible. The lady smiled and handed her the gift bag, avoiding the question, with a quick, "Do you know where the restroom is?" My mom told her where it was, and that seemed to be the end of it. Apparently, some of the other guests grew suspicious of this lady, as she kept staring at me, while I was playing with the other kids and eating. She apparently had a vicious stare, as if she was jealous or angry. I was completely unaware of this. My parents left my auntie in charge of me while they had to run out to grab some candles. They had left it in the car and would be right back. My innocent young self had been approached by this lady and greeted with a happy birthday and a lollipop. I smiled and thanked her. All I remember was her eyes staring into my soul. Her eyes were very wide and intense. I felt an eerie feeling from her. like she was dangerous. My auntie pulled me away from her and sat me down near the rest of the adults. I noticed the anger in the lady's face, death staring my auntie. A few moments later, I could see in the corner of my eye something moving. I turned to see what it was, and I saw that same lady making funny facial expressions trying to grab my attention. She was standing near the exit and waved a lollipop across the air, ushering me to come over. I got excited and followed her naively. She grabbed my hand in a gentle manner and tried to take me out the door. Security had stopped her and asked who she was. This woman was clever. She gave the name from one of the actual guests who attended the party, my auntie, and just said that she was going to take me down to the car park to grab my jacket. It seemed realistic enough, and the security let her through. This all happened within a span of minutes. I genuinely believed she was a relative, but I felt something strange in my tummy. That strange feeling was my gut telling me something was wrong. But as soon as we left the venue and made it to the stairs, she picked me up in a hurry and rushed down the stairs. I realized that she was taking me away. I started crying and screaming. She aggressively put her hands over my mouth to shut me up. But it seemed that my screams were heard when I saw my parents racing towards us. My mom said that she had got the candles and were on her way back upstairs. But when she heard a scream and fast footsteps, she rushed to see what it was, and she almost fainted when she saw me being carried away. My dad was screaming at the lady to stop while chasing her. My mother was calling the police and mall guards. The lady knew she couldn't escape. She made it to the car park and already saw the security waiting there for her. My dad was surprised, as it should have taken at least 5 minutes for security to be here. But security said to my mom that my actual auntie sent a search out to look for me, and when she noticed that the strange lady was not there either, she knew what had happened. Security stopped her and took me away. The lady was screaming and shouting, waving her arms like a mad person. "She's my child, I raised her." She kept repeating. The police came and arrested her. My mom hugged me so tight, and my dad went back up to end the party and close up. My auntie kept apologizing to my mom. She explained how she turned away for only a few minutes, and when she looked back, I was gone. My mom took action against the mall, as security had allowed the women to take me out even under the instruction that no one was to leave until they got back. That was the end of the story. My mom always tears up speaking about it. So do I, as I was so close to being kidnapped, and God knows what would have happened if they had gotten away with it. Would I even be here today?